Hi guys, Darth Deuces here, back on the Star Wars The Vintage Collection action figure review, and today taking a look at the new Mandalorian from The Mandalorian, as he appeared in Season 3, specifically supposed to be based as he appeared on the Imperial base in the last few episodes of the season. I only watched the season once, and it was a while ago, so I'm a little hazy on some of the details. But I was looking forward to this figure. It does have some updates to the mold that I think were due. But I mean, just looking at it in the packaging, I can tell there's some things that are going to bug me with this figure. And I don't think it's perfect in that regard. But this wave is starting to come out, at least around here. I got mine from GameStop. I actually got this and the new Ahsoka Grand Admiral Thrawn. I unfortunately will not be reviewing that Grand Admiral Thrawn anytime soon because I'm actually not going to open that figure. I really like the card back, and it looks good on the card back, so I'm just going to keep it sealed because the figure itself actually isn't really that crazy good. It's a reuse of the Rebels Thrawn from the waist up, and then they just reuse the normal officer mold from the waist for the legs, and then the only thing that's new is the head and the pistol, where Black Series got a whole new mold. I don't really like the laziness they did with that figure, and I don't need to have that figure loose in my 3 1/4 inch collection right now, so I think it just looks a lot better carded. Anyways, I'm rambling a bit. Let's take a quick look at the card back for this one. I do like the card back. The image of Mando there, I think, looks pretty cool. You got the figure and all that looks pretty nice. I do like that they started going with this style of back for these again. You got another image of the card back and a picture of the figure, and then a little read up there if you want to read it. Not too much else going on, so I'm going to take this figure out of the packaging and we'll take a closer look. All right, so now I have this Mando figure out of the packaging, and I gotta say, I'm kind of disappointed with this release. I don't think there's enough new, and I think in a lot of ways, it's actually a step back. There's some issues with this figure, and some of it might be just unluckiness with quality control on my part. So all these figures might not be quite the same as mine, fair enough, but still, some of the stuff is like egregious. Like, there's a lot of stuff I'm not a huge fan of with this figure. And I'll do a comparison with another version of Beskar Mando here in a few minutes. But first up, taking a look at the helmet. And off the bat, I'm not a big fan of the silver paint they used for the helmet. When I do my comparison, you'll see. But the Mando that came with the Starfighter, I think, has a much better color of silver that they used. This one looks almost too plasticky, honestly. And then they did an awful job putting the black paint or print or whatever on the visor of mine. Like, you can see a full line just goes off onto the helmet there. You're missing a spot there on the visor. It bled over to the side, like it missed the mark and went off to the side of the mask or the helmet there on the bottom of the visor. It goes off the mark again on the other corner. Like, this is really messy. Like, I feel like this is like old school 3 1/4 Black Series levels of bad quality control with the paint. Like, this is bad. I might actually, I'm honestly kind of tempted to pop this head off. I might swap this head with another version of Mando that I have. This is, or I might even have an extra helmet sculpt I can use from a previous Mando that had the, that deluxe one that had the Pedro Pascal sculpt. I might have to go see if that helmet is painted better because this is bad, man. This is so bad, honestly. Helmet and the helmet being cleanly painted is a pretty big deal in my opinion, and this one, the quality control is awful. It does have a soft goods cape. It is nice. I do find these soft goods capes, I do prefer the soft goods with these figures, but although on the 3 1/4 inch I find they're a bit big. This one's stitched a little better, so it's not quite as large. It is just clean though. There's no like tears or rips or anything like that, which I'm going to assume is accurate, but I'm not actually sure. But then you have the Mudhorn skull there, and the silver paint on the armor on the torso I think looks mostly fine. The gloves didn't paint the red on the detonators. That is painted on other versions of on other figures from TVC, so that's kind of weird. The belt overlay thing is reuse, but they actually didn't have. The torso has to, I think, is at least somewhat of a different sculpt, I think, because it doesn't have the hole on the back for the rifle, even though the bandolier does have the hole for the rifle. So I guess you can't technically put the rifle on his back. Yeah, it is actually a different sculpt because he does have a different jetpack, so that's interesting. The forearms there. The rest of the belt looks all right. The leg armor looks good. The legs down here, pretty clean for the most part. Not too much else to talk about. You know, what's painted well is painted well, but there's just like missing paint apps or just badly painted stuff on this figure, which is not so great. In terms of articulation, this is the biggest advantage of this figure, but you do have, you know, your dumbbell neck, you get decent range of motion there. Hinges at the shoulders, the shoulder pads will move out of the way to a certain degree. You know, it hinges at the elbows that move past 90 and rotation. Swivels at the wrist with the up and down hinge at the right hand and a in and up and down at the left hand too. There is a torso dumbbell joint. It goes back actually quite a bit. It goes forward a decent amount. Pivots a lot, and then you can get rotation there. The biggest upgrade is we finally have the new style hip joints, the ball joints, so they go up, they go out every which way without having to rotate the thigh cut. We do still get the thigh cut here though, which is nice. And then single hinges, excuse me, at the knees, which go a little past 90, and then hinges at the ankles that move pretty good, and ankle rockers for pivot. So the articulation's good. It's just, yeah, the paint apps are just not so hot on this figure. And again, like I said, I hope maybe mine's just a bad case of quality control and they're not all like this, but I don't know. It's almost like the silver of the helmet is a different... It's almost like the silver of the helmet is like a plastic that they used, and then they painted the rest of the armor, whereas on other Mandos, the helmet's definitely painted silver, where this feels like it's almost like a silver plastic. It might still be painted, I don't know, but yeah, there's something off about it. In terms of accessories, this is another spot of disappointment. He doesn't come with much. So he does, of course, come with his pistol. It is in silver, but for some reason they didn't paint the brown on the grip. Very odd. I think pretty much every release has had the brown on the grip. So this is bad, on my opinion. They definitely should have painted that. It's just a little bit of paint. I don't know why they didn't do it. But, you know, you can hold it. Like so. And then you can slot it into the holster. What I'm probably going to end up doing is the Mando that I'm going to have sitting in the Starfighter. You're never going to see his like where his pistol's holstered, so I'll probably swap the pistol with a better looking one. But, you know, you shouldn't have to do that, so that's pretty lame. And then the one new accessory that we haven't seen before is we do get the jetpack. He gets off of one of the Imperial Armored Commandos. It is sculpted and painted decently. It can port some of the effect parts there, and you can just plug that onto his back. And that looks fine, you know. I don't love the look, honestly, because it doesn't match his armor at all, but it is something he did in the show. But then that's all the accessories he comes with. He doesn't come with any other stuff, and even on the card back, it shows him he had 2 pistols in that scene, and even on the card back, he has 2 guns in his hands, but they didn't give him a second pistol, which is odd. He also had the shield. He might have had some other stuff. It's been a little while, so I don't remember, but this figure definitely should have came with more accessories and didn't, so that's another kind of fairly significant negative, in my opinion, with this guy. But doing comparison with a previous release, this figure is the one that came with the... it came with the Starfighter, the Naboo Starfighter, and at least in terms of paint anyways, this one's, I think, a lot better. I think well, obviously the visor is much cleaner, but you can just tell on camera, like, the silver just looks way better on the new old figure. Like, the one old figure was painted, and it really does, especially on camera, look like the helmet on the new one is just cast in a silver plastic instead of being painted, and it doesn't look right. And then you can see, obviously, the visors don't look right either. This one has the red on the detonators. This one has the brown on the pistol. The leg armor, there is some just different coloring going on. I don't know if that paint is supposed to, that little red bit is supposed to not be there or not. I'm not sure. But, yeah, I don't know. This one definitely has that articulation enhancement, but this one just, I think, looks better, honestly. I wonder... you wouldn't be able to swap the... I'm going to maybe at least swap these helmets. because this is going to be like my Mando for like on the shelf, and then I need one to be in the cockpit. So I don't know if I'll do a helmet swap or what I'm going to do. I might just try to do a helmet swap and see if that looks at least a little better, and then use this as my main Mando and have this one with this helmet on in the ship, because you know you're barely going to see him in there anyways. I don't know, but it's pretty wild in my opinion that they kind of took some steps back here with the new figure. But I'm not gonna do any comparisons. They don't have like Imperial Armor Commandos made yet for this scale, and there's not really much else to compare with, so I'm not gonna bother. That was the main comparison. But overall, you know, it's fine. Articulation wise, it's definitely, you know, I'm glad he got the hip upgrade, but they shouldn't have taken steps back. Like, it literally should have been this figure, maybe do the new cape, this figure with the new cape and the new hips, and that's it. Like, it was that easy, honestly. And they didn't do that right. So, very strange in my opinion. There's definitely some weirdness going on. Should have came with more accessories. So, overall, I do think this is honestly a disappointing release. It could have been so much better. If you are looking for a Mando figure, maybe you're new to collecting or just haven't picked up a Beskar Mando yet, this is the one I'd probably recommend, just because it has the best articulation out of the bunch. If you can't get the Starfighter anyways, because space, money, all that sort of stuff, I would say this is probably the best. But yeah, just a lot of shortcomings that really bummed me out with this guy. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and I'll see you all next video. May the Force be with you.